So every now and then you get a chance to chop it up with a guy named Benjamin and talk about cults. How you doing, Benjamin?
I'm doing fantastic, man. Excited to sit here and have a conversation and see where it takes us.
Thank God I didn't tell you to fuck off when you texted me earlier, huh?
Yeah, there's a ton of Nigerian scams and just all over the place. So yeah, I probably should have let you know, hey, this is Ben with the podcast. Didn't really put two and two together until after I sent you that.
Well, the funny thing is, everyone thinks it's Nigeria. It's fucking North Korea, man. Those guys are fucking geniuses.
Yeah, I believe that. I believe that. You never know where it's coming from these days, man. You got to
They have a
be.
massive hacker community that the government funds and puts into a building. They're called I don't can't remember the name. Lazarus Group. You should go look them up. They're unbelievable.
I've heard of that. Yeah. Now I'm gonna have to. You piqued my interest.
Well, ever since Coinbase got their database sold by one of their employees, how they haven't been sued yet is beyond me.
Yeah, I should look into that too because I do have a Coinbase account I've had for some time.
I bet you've seen an increase in bullshit text messages and emails.
Yeah, I don't think I signed up for that, thank goodness. But yeah, I'm sure they tried. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, they're the increase the increased value of Bitcoin has made the hackers a little bit more hungrier to try and get Bitcoin.
Mm, yeah, unfortunately, I was never successful with Bitcoin. That was another scam that took me three different occasions for about 15 grand.
For what?
Um, just the people that I got involved with, just kind of promising stuff, and then one of those times for like 6 grand, I just flat out got ripped off, and the guy just kind of disappeared and ripped off like 15 of us that invested with him. So you just never know, man. Put a bad taste in my mouth when it comes to cryptocurrency.
I've come to the reality that Bitcoin is the best of the best. Everything else is just trying to be like Bitcoin.
Yeah, yeah, I believe that. Plus, I was naive. It's just, it wasn't, I don't think it was just for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, Bitcoin is really the best form of money ever created.
Yeah, and I mean, it's gonna be digital currency, and that's where we're headed anyway. So they're ahead of the game, that's for sure.
Well, it is digital currency, but it's literally decentralized, and that's the beauty of it. Is when you take away government from money, you give people the money, their money back. And government, they're literally economically retards. And not only that, but they're corrupt to their core. Both sides.
Yeah, I believe that.
Mostly Democrats, but definitely both sides.
Yeah, the banking system is what you're referring to, I believe, right? And yeah, it's all corrupt, man. So I'm
Fed
on board with
Reserve.
that,
Well, I mean, the Fed Reserve just prints money like it's going out of style. You can't do that.
right?
You can't do that and expect to have any value in your currency.
It's
It's
true, man.
it's never worked for anybody.
It hasn't, no. You would think there'd be a change. So I think, yeah, you're right. When now you put it in perspective, crypto is definitely a better avenue for that.
Well, you can't have a change when the people that make the laws are the criminals. When the criminals make the laws, you can't have a change.
Yeah. Wow. Well, that's a whole different rabbit hole right there, my friend.
It is true, buddy. It is true. So, talk a little bit about some of the stuff that you're doing.
Yeah, so what I'm doing, what I'm mainly about, and what my life's work is becoming is helping people identify today's misguided mentors and helping them navigate the predatory self-help space. That's
For
pretty much
example,
it. For example, there's a lot of gurus, quote unquote, successful guys. One of them was my former mentor, Grant Cardone, for 3+ years. I can name a bunch of guys, right? Andy Elliott, Wes Watson,
Andy Elliott. Oh
Dr.
my
Beck
God.
David.
Andy Elliott is so rich, but he can't afford a pair of socks.
I believe that.
Andy, just so we're clear, I don't have a six pack. I get it. I get it.
You're fired.
I'm like, dude.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. So,
And when he goes up there and lies, well, I did $160 million last year. Shut the fuck up.
yeah, they're all lying, man. And that's the thing. Like, and it's not hard to see either. You got to pretty much, if you're good and you're like really tapped into your own intuition and your conscience to do what's right, you can literally see through that bullshit. And a lot of people just overcomplicate it and make it stupid complex to identify that, but it really is that simple. And the red flags are coming up for people, but you guys are coming up with excuses, just like I did. as to why it's okay or why you should ignore it. That's what it takes to be successful, or you want to be part of that group, so on and so forth. And that's the stuff I really focus on, not just identifying today's misguided mentors, but really helping people know themselves a little bit better. So, like, why are they attracted to that stuff? What is appealing to that? What is it that
They
triggers
want the
you?
shortcut.
There's a lot of reasons, absolutely. Yeah, and those guys are preying on these things. They're preying on people, for instance, people's inability to say no. Something that simple. They're preying on a little bit of fear, a little bit of doubt. They prey on that, and it just takes one of those misguided mentors at the right time to really just brainwash you and turn you into somebody you're really not.
I couldn't agree with you more. And there's a lot of those people running around these days. They rent a Lamborghini. It's funny. A buddy of mine here in Vegas rents exotic cars, and he literally has an hourly rate where influencers can take a video with a nice car and for just an hour. And it's
Yeah.
funny because I always think to myself, the fuck is the benefit of renting a Lamborghini for an hour just so you can lie to people and say, you see my Lamborghini? Look at my garage, my Lamborghini in my garage. No, shut the fuck up, Ty. Nobody fucking cares, you know?
Posturing, it's poser.
Poser.
It's all that stuff, man. It's bullshit, and you can see right through that. Unfortunately, I had to go through it though, and unfortunately it took me 3+ years. I used to beat myself up for it, but to be honest, man, it happens to the best of people. I've seen millionaires, multimillionaires, and very successful people drinking the same Kool-Aid in the same room, glorifying the same guy as a god. I'm not even kidding.
Well,
So,
the funny thing is, I know millionaires and billionaires, and people that have a lot of money and that are very successful, they don't have to go around, promoting the fact that they've got a nice car or a nice home.
it's
They
true.
they they let their work speak for itself.
Yeah, they're humble.
And all these guys that are like, follow my sports bets. Listen, buddy, if your sports bets are so good, just set up a fund and let people basically see the results of your fund. The reason why none of these sports bettors do a fund is because they're the losers. They're
Hmm.
losing on their sports bets.
Yeah, that's true, man. And you're right. There's something to be said about what you just said. There's something, when you're trying to convince and portray and project, it's such a low level of energy. It's such a desperate energy. And on top of that, to dovetail that successful topic, just because someone has made a ton of money doesn't necessarily mean they did it in an ethical way.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree with you more. It's funny. Those people have figured out a way to prey on the weak-minded souls that are in society, that are looking
Yeah.
for a shortcut.
Yeah, and that's just one reason, right? Somebody wants the shortcut, they want the blueprint, the playbook, the end all be all. That's definitely something that's attracting.
They
There's
want
also,
the six packs. Andy, they want your fucking six packs, man.
hey, that's true. People want that, they want to be close to people. I mean, I even did this too. Like people would spend thousands of dollars just in hopes of getting a picture with Grant Cardone. I mean, it's that sad. It's that desperate. But there's several reasons, you know what I mean? Like biologically, we like to fit in with a group. They prey on that. When you're in a room full of thousands of people and it's all rah, 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 all feeding that same energy, it's very attractive, man. It's really hard to,
Understood the whole allure of Wes Watson, though. You mentioned him earlier. I mean, he literally says, "I came out of prison." But by the way, I'm telling you, I'm a multimillionaire and I'm very rich, and I want you to buy my course for 15 grand or whatever. I thought to myself, he tells you right up front, he came out of prison. He was a criminal.
yeah, yeah. And he does something and it's funny because I've actually identified, I'm writing a new book and I've actually identified, archetypes of the misguided mentors. And Wes Watson is the guy who glorifies prison. He doesn't just talk
There's
about his
nothing
prison.
glorifying about prison.
Exactly. And he glorifies his prison sentence as if that gives him credibility or as if that's his, claim to
Well,
fame.
the irony is he might actually go back to prison.
Right. And I actually hope he does. Not because I hate or anything. I'm not saying that. I think that's the only thing that's gonna wake him up at this point. You know what I mean? And if that's what it takes, and I'm okay with that. So be it.
Yeah, I mean, he's an easy guy to hate. It comes across as just an walking pile of shit.
Yeah, he's definitely lost. And the sad thing about that is when he first started doing his influencing stuff, he had some great messages and he was on the right track and he was really a hateful guy. He didn't lose his temper too much. Somewhere along the way, man, he took the temptation of money, sex, ego, self-pride, and once you start taking that shit, you become blinded to the truth and what's actually right. And you can clearly see the juxtaposition in that man. He's a great example of that.
Yeah. I think somehow in life, the influencers that have not found God therefore veer off and become a little bit more evil each day. Money will corrupt your mind and literally make you do things that are outside of what you think your character should be.
Yeah. Yeah. And some people might hear that and say, no, money is not the problem. Money is the root of all evil is actually a poor person's mentality. But I understand what you're saying. And that's not what you're saying. What you're saying is that, and I've also heard this statement that money makes you more of the person you already are. That could be true in some ways too. But I honestly think people change, right? And
Well, I've
temptation,
seen money change people for the worse.
yes, me
So
too.
it may not make them who they are, but it makes them lazy in who they want to become. You know, if you want to become a good person, money sometimes makes you lazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And everybody's different too, but the most important thing is it is just changing. Like I'm a firm believer that there's no template for everybody. There's
No.
no there's no this like yeah, you can talk about generally speaking, but there is the fact is we're all individuals going on our own path. And sometimes we do good things, bad things. Sometimes we take the temptations and then come through it and realize how bad we were taking that temptation. Some people never come out of it. And so, yeah, I just think, like you said, a lot of these guys, they get deceived and blinded with that stuff, and they just lose their soul, man. And you just see it every day. And they're out here teaching people. So you got misguided mentors teaching people to be misguided mentors who teach other people to be misguided mentors. It just goes down the line, man, until someone actually says, "Wait a second, did nobody else hear that? Did nobody else see the wrong in this? Like, am I the only one?"
Yeah. So how do you monetize what you're doing?
I don't sell anything right now. So the only thing I sell is my books. I'm not really monetizing anything right now.
Hey, you're monetizing your books.
Yeah, but I don't even promote it, you know?
You
So
got to
I,
promote it. Why even write a book if you're not going to promote it?
I got a plan for the next book I'm writing. I will be promoting that book. The first book I wrote today, or The Misguided Mentor, was kind of a book I wrote when I was brainwashed and I was a misguided mentor myself. And kind of just talks about like the first half of just my life from childhood up to in my business uh, development and how mentorship played a role in that. And then I talk about what I learned in business, which is all just regurgitated stuff that I learned from all the self-serving entrepreneurs in the industry, like Grant Cardone. So I keep that on the market. I don't want to push it, but as soon as I push out this next book, bless you,
Woo. Thank you.
I'll be able to do a side by side comparison as far as see the overarching difference in the growth I've made. Because since that book, you mentioned God, I've had a spiritual awakening that changed my entire life, dude. I never had this feeling or these type of experiences happen to me in 40 years of my entire life, and it all happened at once, over and over and over and over and over until I became 100% believer. Not 99.99999. I'm talking 100% without a shadow of a doubt believer, man. And it really just changed my outlook on life, how I respond, how I view things, how I care about people. It just everything, man. I've never been the same.
You know, it's funny. You talk about God and faith, and I believe that faith matters now more than ever before. Talk a little bit about three things that you've learned in your new spiritual awakening.
Yeah, so I could just go down the downloads I got. The thing I learned most, the first download I got was the biggest message I've ever, the most valuable message I ever got. Call it a message, call it a download, call it a whatever you want. The best way I can explain it was it was like I was being talked to through energy, if that makes sense. It was a very specific thing, and I boiled it down to letting go. It just felt like letting go of everything, and I've talked about this so many times, man. Not letting go of like a few things. I'm talking about everything, not wanting to be right or wrong, not wanting money, not wanting answers, not wanting to understand, not wanting. Literally left nothing on the table, and I started getting more downloads and more experiences happening to me that are just unbelievable, unreal. And I don't even talk to everybody about it. When it first happened, I did because I was so excited. I want to scream from the rooftops and share everything. But I found that a lot of people have had this experience, and so I was looking crazy, you know what I mean? So I realized it's only meant for certain people, and I can tell when someone's actually experienced some of the things I have.
Interesting. What are some of the things that you found are red flags for some of these mentors that you're referring to?
Ah, okay. Here's an easy one. Um, if the message is to seek them for the answers, seek them for a playbook, seek them, that's a red flag. A good mentor, in my opinion, will actually let you know that you actually have everything inside you. You just need to tap into that. And
Gracie.
everything else that's supposed to happen, whether a mentor is supposed to be in your life, whether you get money, whether you get the perfect wife, the house, all that stuff.
This is my this is my mentor.
All right,
This is
yeah.
this is Gracie. Every
Gracie,
now and then she wants to make a podcast interruption.
nice. What's up, girl? Yeah, so a good mentor and a red flag is they're gonna teach they're gonna suggest that you seek them and chase them for the answer. Stick with me. Proximity is power. All these sayings, they'll use a good saying. Let me wrap that up first. So instead of seeking them, they'll suggest that like, no, you have everything you need in you. So you just tap into that. Um, there's nothing I can do to, really, I can help maybe, but I'm not going to suggest that you need something or you should do something. Words like that really kind of hook you. But yeah, that's one red flag. And it's funny on this new book, I got a whole chapter just on red flags. But sayings like, these are good sayings, but they're being used for bad. So like your network is your net worth. Everybody has heard all of these
Okay,
sayings.
but I gotta say that saying is truthful. It's very truthful.
Right, but it's being okay, let me give you an example. And these are just my opinions, right? Um, I feel like stuff like that is like elementary tactics to really prey on people's like inner child. Because when you think about it, all it's doing is just like you want to be near the cool kids, you want to hang out with the cool club, you want to be popular, you know what I mean? It really is a elementary way of trying to frame somebody's mindset. Just by knowing somebody, you ain't gonna elevate. Third party validation is actually not as valuable as people project. And I know that because everybody ran from me when they found out I was with Grant Cardone. They would always get on the phone with me because they knew how aggressive I was. I was just like Grant. I modeled and mimicked him, and my business did worse. And when I say that, I was closing sales, yes, but I was doing it in another unethical way. I was deceiving, manipulating, shaming, bullying, harassing, interrogating people into sales, and something felt wrong. And I didn't know what it was. It was my intuition telling me that's wrong, dude. And I ignored it because I thought that's what it took to be successful.
Yeah, I think a lot of times, people think that you can speed up the process of success, but success requires you to put in the work. And once you put in the work and stay very focused, eventually you'll achieve the goals that are in front of you. There's just no shortcut.
Right. You do have to grind, yeah, and you got to have the faith we talked about. Um, yeah, there's ups and downs, but if you stick with it, it will pay off. Absolutely.
I've been grinding on YouTube for not since 2009. That's when I set up my YouTube account. And it's only in the last year that I've actually figured it out. And I tell people
Nice.
all the time, you can't expect things to work at your pace and your timeline. God has a plan for you, and it's on his pace, his timeline.
I love that. Absolutely. And I found that out along with that's another lesson I learned. Yeah. With the spiritual awakening is that divine timing is a real thing, man. It's a very real thing. But yeah, there's just certain sayings that I don't jive with. And yes, there could be some truth. Yes, it could, but I think they're being used for bad. They're being used to get you in the room so they can brainwash you for 3 days, send you out into a space where there's free alcohol, and then they let a bunch of freaking sales reps loose on you that are aggressive as hell. So I've been in this scenario so many times, man. Some of the purchases I made, $40,000, $20,000 here. A lot of them were when I was all tipsied up and 3 days in on a public speaking event or a boot camp or workshop. And it's just not the best time to be making decisions. And people hear me talking about this. I take accountability for all that. But just because I take accountability for that doesn't mean I'm not going to call everything I see, right? There's still another party to this, and I see what's going on.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Talk a little bit about how fear plays into people's lives. People have fear in many ways that keeps them from achieving their best life, that keeps them from chasing their goals, their dreams, all the things that they do in life. Fear is the one thing that holds most people back. How do you deal with fear?
Man, I just had this conversation with my 13-year-old daughter. I love this. So fear ain't going away. Fear is present. We're all going to experience fear. It's just how you respond to it. Um, I get just as scared, not scared, but I'll call it scared. Yeah, scared is fear. So, whether I'm publicly speaking or doing a podcast or selling, $100,000 project to a homeowner, the feeling still comes up. Now it's just I identified how I made a choice that when fear comes up, I'm going right after it. And so the decision to make the shift in the moment is very, very quick for me and how I respond to fear. A lot of people, they feed on that. Fear is an energy. So if you're feeding on that energy, it's going to just embed itself more and more into you. And that's kind of my viewpoint on it. It really is just understanding how you're going to respond to the fear next time it approaches you. And you get into that habit. If you start correcting that fear, like if you confront fear head on frequently and consistently, that's just your new norm now. But if you do not exercise that muscle, fear is going to paralyze you, just like you said. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people that are in that space.
Yeah, I mean, fear holds people hold back from great marriages, from great opportunities in life. People literally, the devil sits on your shoulder and tells you everything that can go wrong. God sits on your other shoulder and tells you have faith in yourself. Faith matters more now than ever before for people.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more either, man. That's you hit it the nail on the head. And that's why it's important for people to really also identify where their faith level is at, because you might have heard me say when I was reborn, let's call it again, reborn at 40 years old. I am 100% believer, and I can tell what even a pastor, if he's preaching, I can tell if he's 99.9999% believer and he's still holding on to a little doubt. I swear I can feel it, I can see it, I can sense it. Um, yeah, there's a whole nother backstory where God actually sent me to a church to deliver specific messages to a pastor after I heard him speak, and he didn't receive it very well because
Yeah,
he wasn't a believer.
I think now we're starting to see, not only that God is becoming a bigger part of everyone's lives, but we're also starting to see people that are embracing Satan and that are demonic in nature. We're seeing some horrible crimes, and there's no way to explain it other than that person has embraced being a demon or being part of Satan's pack. You look at the guy that stabbed that poor blonde girl in the train to net death, and everyone else on that train literally watched her die. No one came to her aid. These
I
people are
can't believe that.
demons. And you look around and you see the insanity of the crimes that are being committed out in our world right now. They're becoming more and more demonic.
Yeah, and
I
and
mean,
it's
there's no other word that you can use to describe this stuff. It's just literally demonic because when you're a demon, you follow in the footsteps of Satan. And when you have faith, you follow in the footsteps of God. There's just no way you can describe what's happening in the world today other than a group of demons that are trying to literally cause havoc.
yeah, it's a possession for sure, absolutely. And some people, like I said, this might non-believers is going to go over their head, or they're going to have a lot of doubt with this stuff. But it's a very real thing you're talking about, and that's why I went as far as to say is like even murderers and certain people that have done the most horrific stuff. Deep down, there's another side to them, and they just didn't lean into that goodness. They didn't lean into that faith. They didn't lean into that, and instead they took the temptation, that evil provided them and they got lost and lost their soul, much like the mentors we were talking about. It really is no different. And so being able to identify that, those two contrasts and deciding what you want to focus on and acknowledging and being aware when evil pops up in your life, super important, man.
I couldn't agree with you more. Listen, do me a favor, look in the camera for a quick second, and I want you to tell one person that's watching this right now, tell them something inspirational that'll change their life, even if it's just for one day.
All right, I got one for you. I talk a lot about intuition and your conscience to do the right thing. I'm a firm believer that's God talking to you. So when those feelings come up, if something feels off, it usually is. If something feels wrong, it usually is. You need to lean into your intuition more. And I think when going back to what me and Chris and you were talking about, Chris, taking the temptations of money, sex, ego, self pride, so on and so forth, it's going to blind you to that intuition. So you just need to be aware of those two different scenarios and lean into the feeling that you know your conscience to do the right thing. Do not ignore that because you are going to be tempted to ignore that. And most people know what I'm talking about. So I would say lean into that intuition to do the right thing. That's God speaking to you.
Awesome. Listen, it's been great chopping it up with you. We should do this again sometime soon. I think you're going to uncover more and more people out there that are just full of shit.
Absolutely, every day, man. So yeah, it's just bringing awareness, providing guidance to these people, and help in any way that I can. Absolutely.
He's Benjamin John. I appreciate his time.